evening, and thank you to the board for being early. Most of you have seen me before, so I'm just going to read through my welcome and opening remarks as I typically do. There is a few changes. Obviously, first and foremost is cell phone silence, please. Board members will be recognized first, and then the audience if I so choose, when we will not be talking for more than 2 minutes. I have the right to stop any conversation whenever I see fit. And the change is that if we have outbursts, that will not be tolerated. We had a pretty rude interruption of Mr. Mason last meeting that I will in fact stop the meeting. If that ever happens again, I will in fact clear the room. So please keep your outbursts to yourselves, and just let's deal with a little bit of respect here. Area 58, you'll be recording. Thank you so much for coming. Is there anybody else recording this meeting today? What's your name? I'm sorry, say that again? Catherine Harrelson. Harrelson. Okay, thank you very much.
There may be one other person recording who has signed in as well.
Sure, who's that?
Aaron?
Is he here?
He'll be here just a few minutes.
Okay.
Eden? Spell it?
There is another camera set up. Is that yours? Thank you so much. Okay, that's great. I saw him sitting down and getting the camera squared away. So today is May 28th, 2024. Carver Earth Removal Committee, and it's also John Mason's birthday, so I wanted to say publicly, happy birthday. I'm not singing. Thank you for coming on your birthday, John. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
On to the next item on our agenda is to welcome Kevin Ford. Kevin, as you all know, we've talked about this a little bit. He's the part-time Board of Health agent for the town of Carver. Now he is the part-time Earth Removal Committee agent as well. Yep. Kevin, I do thank you very much personally for wanting to say yes and helping us out here. Yep. It'll be a lot of help for me and the rest of the committee as we go forward.
Thank you, Kevin.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
And everybody in the audience, I ask that you take a minute to get to know Kevin after the meeting. He will be doing site visits for us in the future, and he's got a very large depth of knowledge in engineering and this type of stuff. So he is absolutely the right person for us, and it would behoove you guys to get to know him a little bit. On to the next item on the agenda is I like to try and get my head wrapped around a potential meeting date. And that, my potential would be Tuesday, June 25th at 4 o'clock in this room, which is the 4th,
Right.
3rd of the 4th. Mm-hmm. Is that going to work with your schedule, Kevin?
Well, I'm also part-time health agent in Plimpton. They meet the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. So I don't want to be here the first night and try to dictate what's done, but if you could make it the first Tuesday of the month, I don't have any conflicts. That's all. If not, I'll try to work around it.
July.
What's the date for that if we were to...
July 1.
Would it be, it'd be the 2nd, right? Tuesday would be July 2nd?
Yes, yeah.
I'm only the secretary, but you would have to take notes.
Are you gone?
On the way, yeah.
Okay. Any other board members have a conflict for that date?
The video was fine.
Okay.
The recording, I could just go by that.
I see you. I'll get to you in 1 minute. Any other board members have a conflict with that date to accommodate Kevin?
No.
Ms. Beatling?
What about accommodating the rest of us residents that want to come and can't make it that day?
Well, this is a-
Change the day of the week we have to change the day and the time.
This is a working meeting for this board. We have Area 58 here and other people recording, so you guys can see what's going on. I would agree with you, it's not the same. The board is in charge, so we will in fact meet when the board and the agent can. So thank you for the comments. So we're all good for 7/2/24 at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
Carol will check with Shelby after to make sure the room is available that day as well.
Yeah, first thing tomorrow.
Yep, perfect, thank you.
And going forward, is it gonna be the first Tuesday of every month?
I think so.
Okay, just so I can ask for that too.
Yeah, absolutely. We can, if we can do that and pencil it in, it might work out very well to have our agent here instead of having to
Yes.
do something different to make sure his schedules don't conflict. So it'll be July the 2nd, 2024, 4 p.m. in meeting room 1, unless there is a conflict with the room. Moving on to the Mackey site visit. We were there on May the 18th. It was a Saturday morning, rainy, shocking. 8 o'clock in the morning till about 20 minutes of 9. We did review the site. We took a nice healthy walk. I'm going to start with Mr. Harrison today. Anything you want to talk about the Mackey site as it was our final inspection, hopefully?
The site appeared to be completed within our recommended site closing, and there is one piece of equipment remaining on site for future farm operations, but other than that, everything looked squared away and was all good.
Thank you. Mr. Ward, anything to add?
I really can't add to that. No, I was just satisfied that they've met the plans and the requirement finally.
Thank you. Mr. Shores?
The only thing to add to that, it looked like the drainage was properly installed. The site looked, I think it's a good-looking site at the end.
Thank you. John?
The only thing I'll add is we had a substantial rain event just prior to the visit, which gave me comfort in the washouts and drainage that they had. I'll just note that there was green grass growing on all slopes, as well as the staging area when you first came into the property. And there was a berm installed between the access road and the reservoir, to reduce the washouts. And they had a nice drainage pipe installed down at the outlet. So it was nice to see it complete.
Judy? Anything to add?
The only thing I'm going to add is that like John said, the rain had caused some runoff spots. The grass was taking. Hopefully, with the nicer weather, the rest of the grass will come into place. The excavator is still there, and if anybody were to look at the property, the excavator is covering an area that there is no grass, so probably if they move the excavator, they'll put some grass in that place. The only other thing that I could see, because I really was only there once before, that the whole area is bermed except for the backside, and I didn't know if that was part of the original plan.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I've got to add is, like everybody said, the equipment's all gone, including the cameras and the solar panel that was up on the roof. So Mrs. Beetling had sent an email a month or two ago regarding a boom truck, and we're assuming that that's what it was for, was to remove the cameras and the solar panel, and they are gone. So just wanted to let you know that that was, yes, sir, go ahead.
When are they gonna take the elevator out?
Right now, it's not an active, once we close out, if we get to closing it out tonight, it is not an active earth removal site. That has been left there for the installation of a pump, which is an agriculturally exempt activity. So when it goes is whenever Mrs. Mackey and the Lopes Company wants to remove it.
Okay.
Okay? So thank you. Okay. Anybody else have anything on the site visit from the board? Okay. Kevin, you're lucky. You missed that one.
Yeah, I did.
All right, so moving on to the SLT Marab Trust site. Mr. Opachinski is here with us tonight. We did hear some conversation last meeting with him. There was a little bit of confusion with a pit closure form. We all have it now,
Yes, we do.
and I do appreciate your patience with us to make sure that that was done in accordance with our bylaw. We've all reviewed, I think we've all reviewed the engineered plan that you gave us. Part of the closure, you've indicated on some yardage, such like that, like you had talked about last time.
Yep.
So I'm going to open it to the board for any questions, comments for Mr. Opachinski.
My only question is, Peter's around the 20,000 yards you're hanging on to.
Yep.
That's waiting on the Plimpton side, but will come out to
It,
Carver.
it came from the McGrath property. It's stockpiled in Plimpton. We've actually had to blend it with some stone to modify it and make it a saleable material, and we're just waiting on the right job to come along. So once that leaves, we will still owe the 25-cent yard fee on that.
It's on the Plimpton side of the
It's on the-
property anyway. The
it's
Marab
stockpiled
site
in
is,
Plimpton right now.
the Marab site is completed.
Completed, it's designated by stone, it's, grass is growing, trees are planted.
Okay. Anybody else? Any comments for Mr. Opachinski while he's sitting here? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
So we're moving to accept this permit for well, closure.
Yep, if we can, if it's the
So-
board's will.
I move that we accept this closure as completing the project.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, sure.
Okay. Any discussion from the board as to the closure of the Marab site?
Who was the second?
I did.
Roger was. No further discussion from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Mr. Opachinski, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving right along. The Mackey site is also up for closure this evening. Mr. Zajac, if you'd like to come up and talk us through that.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, John Zajac for Betty Mackey. I did prepare the closeout forms as you requested, and I do have copies of the as-built plans from GAF
Excellent.
Engineering. How many copies of the plan do you need?
What's a typical amount, Carol, for the file?
I think it's only just the one when it's
Okay.
the as-built.
Okay. Is the board good with just the one copy?
Yeah, I'm fine.
If you're short, we can share one, I'm sure.
Yep.
I can give you
If you can give us, how many do you have with you?
total of 5.
So if you give us 3 or 4 of them, we can share, just so we can look through it as you're talking.
Sure.
That'd be spectacular. I'd like Kevin to take a look at it as well, just because of his background.
We'll do him and then the chair, right?
Sure. Well, if we can have,
Between the two of us.
yeah. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And these will all go back at the end anyway. Sorry, guys. Okay. I know that these plans are hot off the press, so.
They were actually dated May 20th. But I only picked them up on the way here. We're not,
So this must be before.
didn't become aware that they were available until this morning, so.
This is that berm.
Okay. So entrance road here. Okay. Okay, well, we're looking at the map. You want to go through some numbers with us, for us, if you would?
Sure. So this is the as-built plan prepared by GF Engineering for G-Lopes Construction, Inc., which was the excavation contractor, and Betty Mackey, who's the property owner.
Speak up, please.
Sure. This is the plan that was prepared by GF Engineering for G-Lopes Construction, Inc., the excavation contractor, and for Betty Mackey, the property owner. As you're probably aware, the original engineer who designed this several years ago is deceased, so GAF Engineering had to pick up where he left off in designing this. But we were able to at least provide him with them with the original plans as shown to assist them in their preparation of this as-built plan. So the plan shows that the reservoir was constructed as it was anticipated at 10.8 acres on the overall site of 66 acres. I suggest that the plan does, the as-built conforms to the design of the original reservoir as it was anticipated, that the elevations are what it was designed for, and the actual earth removal turned out to be just a little bit less than what was permitted. The original permit issued in 2011 was for 545,000 cubic yards. When that permit expired and Mrs. Mackey came before this committee in 2022, there was 99,610 yards left to excavate. It actually turned out that the removal since this permit issued in 2023 was 92,181 yards. So we were actually a little less than 7,000 yards below what was originally permitted, and obviously that's now reflected on the permit closeout form that I prepared on behalf of Mrs. Mackey.
Can you repeat that number one more time? The actual yardage that came out since that 90?
So the total yardage was 538,021 yards since 2021, and 92,181 yards in 2023-24.
Thank you.
The as-built, I suggest, shows that it's been constructed as it was originally designed, and Mrs. Mackey is looking forward to being able to utilize it to irrigate her cranberry bogs.
Okay, thank you. You have pit closure forms for us as well?
I do. I prepared them. I was not sure how the committee wished to address the previously expired Alex Johnson permit. So I have one that shows the overall closure as if it was one activity. I have one Alex Johnson and one that's just Betty Mackey. So however you'd like that, I'm happy to submit it.
Mr. Zajac and I had a conversation earlier today just to make sure he knew about the meeting. And I said, I think if the board wishes, we would have all three. That way there, it kind of spells out the original, the closing, and the finished overall project. So we've got all the numbers broken down just as the way Mrs. Zajac has talked about it.
With your permission, may I sign on behalf of Mrs. Mackey, who could not be here, but I am her attorney, obviously.
I have no problem with that. Anybody on the board have a problem with that?
And I'll indicate.
You are listed as record here anyway, so. Once he does that, we'll be able to circulate him throughout us, take a glance at it while we're still discussing, if you'd like, and then we can go on from there. That way there we can hopefully put all of this decades-long project behind us, and for the beatlands as well. Thank you very much. If you want to start with Mr. Harrison, that would be great, and then he can just circulate it throughout. Really appreciate it. Does anybody from the board have any questions for Mr. Zajac while we're kind of reviewing these as we're just seeing it now?
No?
Okay.
Pretty much tells the story. Yep.
The as-built plan, I think, is a very telling story, which is why I'm sure the committee, before I got on, asked for that to be done, and which is why I'll require it from here on out on any other permits. Just makes sense to have a starting plan and an ending plan, in my opinion. I'm very happy to hear that the yardage was a shade under. That works, instead of being a yard or a shovelful over. I'm very happy that this is the way it's gone at the end here. Been a very timely process for the town, and a timely process for the neighborhood, for the company as well, and for Mrs. Mackey. So it would be nice to see this thing kind of closed out. Barring anything else to the board, I'll entertain a motion on the permit closure.
I'll move that we close the Mackey permit.
Mr. Shaw's moved the closure of the Betty Mackey site. Do I hear a second?
I'll second. Judy.
I'll second
Judy can
that.
second. Any further discussion as to the closing of the Mackey Zajac site, which was the Alex Johnson and Son site? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Can we vote twice?
Thank you very much, Mr. Zajac, for being here. Thank you for your efforts in getting this closed down as quickly as possible.
Thank you all very much. We were very glad that we could get this done once the 2023 permit issued, to get this done within the time frame required, requested by the committee. And I do appreciate all of your diligence in seeing that forward. I'm glad that the site visits went well, and it's been a pleasure dealing with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you want us to sign these, Mr. Chairman?
If there is, absolutely, while they're going around, let's put your John Hancock on them.
Get them all going.
Yep, that'd be great.
You can have the first one.
While the board is signing that, again, thank you, Mr. Zajac.
Thank you.
While the board is, we'll give all the plans to Carol so she can put it in the file after. Unless Mr. Zajac wants all but one copy of the plan, it's up to you.
No, I'm fine with one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on, we've got continued board discussion of the notification sheet developed by the Triple CGA and the Carver cranberry growers on notifying the earth removal committee about any earth removal activities that are agriculturally exempt. Brian Wick and Amy Quessel, town council, have gone back and forth several times. In your packet, I'm not sure that this is the exact verbiage of the one that was out, but it is very close. There is some strikes in here which should not be there. You guys are seeing now. This is a triple CGA notification. It's not coming from the Earth Removal Committee. So that's why I'm relatively okay to just let it happen the way it is. This is more of a triple CGA scenario than it is earth removal. Amy did want to weigh in on it, which she did, and she brought some very good comments, which Brian took and added to a little bit. So this is just for you guys' information. What we'll do is, John is the president of the Triple C, and I am his first vice. What we can do, John, is if we can instruct Brian to send this out to the growers, and we've got about 5 weeks worth of time to a June 30 deadline on notification, which should be ample time to get the growers to get their responses back to us. That way there we can, in fact, kind of help steer the conversation if a complaint should come up. That way there, it's nice to know it is in fact in the bylaw. We are following the bylaw as it's written. This is nothing new. This is in fact a bylaw that's been in place for a very long time. And to the best of my knowledge, this has never been done. So kudos to the board for getting this thing wrapped up. What I'm hoping to do is get all the growers that are doing any type of earth removal in the town of Carver to send us a notification sheet by the end of June. And then we'll reissue prior to the end of the calendar year. And we'll do that every single year going forward. Mr. Wood?
well, a once a year notice, which gives us the information that we need in case there is a question by our citizens. And it behooves the growers to help us out with this and do this. It's just a help all the way around.
I would agree with you that the information that comes back to us will only help the growers.
It's only gonna take, it's a once a year
Yep.
fill out, and it's really a necessary step.
I agree. And I think everybody, speaking for the board now, I think everybody on the board would agree with that statement. That it is in fact something that only helps the grower. It's a pain in the neck this year especially because we're gonna do it twice. So, it's all right. We'll get it out, we'll get it in, and then we'll have some knowledge about what's going on when there is in fact a question or a concern from the residents. So that's just more informational for you guys. John and I will instruct Brian to send this out, and then with any luck in the coming days, weeks before the next meeting, we'll see a plethora of notification sheets.
So the growers so far at their meetings are agreeable to this? And they like it as a communication tool?
The Growers Association
does.
likes it.
Okay.
Now, it has not
Clarified.
gone out to the public, the cranberry growing
growers.
public yet.
Okay. But I'm sure they'll realize that it's probably the best for them to share so that people aren't being overly concerned. If they're doing something wrong, it's like letting them know what they're doing.
I absolutely agree with you,
Okay.
and I'm hopeful that that's how all the growers feel as well. So, moving on. We had a discussion and a vote last meeting about raising our tip fee. And Carol did draft she put together a letter that I've made some edits to. I'll circulate it here with you guys, or if you've already got it maybe. It's pretty short and sweet. And what I'd like to do is put this on record, provided you guys are good with the words. Put it on record so that we have a start of rules, policies, and procedures coming out of the Carver Earth Removal Committee that somebody in the future can look back on and say, hey, that's when they did that. I've been asking for a long time now for that type of stuff coming out of the town, and we don't find it. So with any luck, we'll have this be there for the future generations. It was a 7-0 vote in favor of raising from 10 cents to 25 cents per yard, and on the commercial side went from a quarter to 40 cents, which is noted in the letter. The current permits, other than the two large ones that we just authorized several months ago, and I've talked to both of those people, they are okay with the 25 cents on the agricultural side, even if it is retroactive. So they were both very, very good with that. Nobody else on that list, I don't think, should succumb to our rate change now. What I would like to have happen is to have this active from any permit coming in from here on out. Okay? Now, if there are permit holders that want to give us 25 cents, I would certainly not turn that money away. But in fact,
They won't be.
Kevin's doing what everybody else wants to. In fact, if they want to come forward and pony up to the quarter, that really works. If not, I don't believe it should be required that we come back and change the goalpost after they've been issued. Okay?
So that's just for the Makepeace new permit going forward?
Makepeace permit going forward, the new one right, and then the Pontiff permit as well. I have spoken with the CEO at Makepeace and the owner at Federal Furnace, Pontiff, and both of them have agreed to that. So what I would like to do is put this in the record, we'll all sign it. We'll get one copy to have everybody sign. And then what we'll do, Carol, is send this out to the permit holders at 80 Makepeace and Pontiff, and then we'll keep it in our files for future use from there. Everybody agree with that? Does it make sense?
This, we don't want to make any kind of notification to the industry at all, other than the two big permit holders.
Correct. And the reason why I wouldn't is because those permit holders are already on record.
Well, I was thinking of someone who applies for a new permit or
Right.
something down the road. We need to make sure they understand that this is part of the.
I would absolutely agree with that. Yep. And that's something that when we go through the permit application process,
Includes something like this.
Yep.
With the bylaws, I mean, with the order of conditions and the bylaws.
Right.
We have to,
Yep.
this will just be part of that packet.
Yep, okay.
Yep.
I'm good.
okay. Okay, so if we can all sign a copy.
You want a motion to accept this? Or
Yeah, if you guys are good with it, I'm good with it.
I think we've already voted, right?
We have voted on doing that.
On doing
but-
it, but
Oh, we already did it. Yeah, we did vote on it.
Yep.
So all we need to do is sign that.
yeah, I think
Use this one, sure.
the attorney says.
It passes off to you to sign.
Do you think they have to make a motion, like, the
If
last?
if they already voted to do the changes, I think.
It says right on
sign
here, the
would be
vote was
sufficient.
7-0
Okay.
unanimous.
Perfect. All right, moving on. Thank you for that, by the way. We had started a discussion last time, and it was just that. There was no vote. It was just, in fact, a discussion on load counts during peak seasons for agricultural needs. Didn't know if the board's pleasure was wanting to carry that conversation going forward, or if we want to let it die on the vine. It's totally up to you guys. I'm not pushing it. I don't have an opinion either way. It's just something that was brought to me and I wanted to bring it to you guys.
I think that limiting the big permits who may be supplying material for renovations in a large volume, that could restrict the planting of a bog down the road quite a bit, which could end up reducing their growing time. I mean, so they wouldn't have, when you take a bog out of production, generally you're talking 2 years. So if you
These are all-
plant late because you can't come up with the sand, then that might take another year off your production on that particular acreage. So I know I'm going through kind of right now, and we're doing 6 inches of sand, and it is a lot of sand even on a little bog, like a 1.4 acres, like we're doing at my house, or my farm. So to get that there, I mean, we're talking 80 triaxle loads of sand on 1.4 acres. Okay? So how do you supply that when, like, if we're buying it from Makepeace and they're only allowed 50 trucks a day? And they're supplying possibly to other larger growers. So my thoughts, I thought about it and I said, I don't really want to have traffic year-round at carte blanche, just any way they want. But if there were a way to limit that time for that permit or that grow. I need sand. I make a request to Makepeace for 2 weeks to supply that amount of sand. And they may have to make the request to our board that during the month of April and May, they need an additional 20 loads a day. So by doing it, you limit the time period that you're doing that additional loads. But it would allow a grower to get additional sand so that they don't have to postpone their planting. That's what my big concern would be.
And to be honest with you, I do appreciate the comments that you've made, and that's exactly why I'm bringing this up. And the person that brought this to me had the same exact concerns. You know, it's the time, and John spoke to it last meeting, the fact that it's very difficult and it increases the expense when you can't get the sand there in the right amount of time, because now you're paying the machine to do a bunch of work for little bits at a time. So,
Plus, I mean, the truck, you can't get trucks, so you do one truck an hour. And now you gotta hire a bulldozer operator to sit there and push it out onto the board, unless you've got some old guy that's volunteer. Because that's what I did all last week. So I'm just thinking of the culmination of everything there. There seems to be a need for a permit holder who's selling the sand to the grower to be able to get him an additional amount of sand for what they need for that renovation project in a timely fashion.
so I think one of the things that was brought up at the last meeting when we did chat about this was the record keeping aspect of it. Right, so that's a big deal. And then furthermore, and actually I'm saying it backwards, but how do we get notified that the permit holder wants more loads? I don't want to see every grower walk in here and say I need X, because now it's going to turn into a problem. I think
That would have to go through the permit holder, wouldn't it?
I would agree with that.
So if 4 growers are buying sand from Makepeace
Yep.
on that project, they go to him or them,
Yep.
and they say, we need this amount of sand for this renovation project, and how's that fit with your overall numbers? And can they come before the earth removal committee and say, for those 5 weeks, second week, April on through May, we need to be able to do 20 more truckloads a day to supply those particular growers.
So I think the trick of it then is going to be, and I think we're probably all in agreement that the permit holder should come ask, right?
Yes, that's what.
I think the permit holder should come ask. I think that that's appropriate. The second part of it is, how do we get the record keeping to be appropriate? That's going to be the bugaboo, to make sure that we don't have an additional 5, 10, 20 loads a day going to a commercial enterprise, not Cranberry. So I think it's going to be a 2-tiered record keeping process that we'll have to work our way through.
Agreed, yeah.
Need to
Could
do-
the holder fill out 2 forms? Emergency sand removal for growing season between this month and that month, and then that will be paid at whatever rate. And then also submit the regular plans with the,
I would
Yeah,
absolutely
services.
agree with a train track parallel reporting paperwork, so it's not mixed in with the 50 loads a day permit. That if we decided to give 10 or 20 more loads, we could say, hey, listen, this is where the 20 loads actually went, because that would be, I think, a different, right now, I don't care where that 50 loads goes, but if you're gonna tell me it's an agricultural during peak, I wanna know where it goes.
correct.
Right.
Right? I mean, that makes, I don't think any grower would mind to get that. So I think there's just those couple of different scenarios there that we really need to dial down on. And what I'd like to do, Kevin, welcome to the committee, is maybe if you could put some thought into how this would work paperwork-wise,
Sure.
and give us a presentation over at the next meeting maybe,
Sure.
about how that paperwork would look coming into the committee, timeframes, stuff like that.
Would you
Just off
like
the
to
top
hear
of
some
my
more
head, that would be
crying?
in your application process, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So, right now, if we've got permits out there that are already active, I don't want to stifle any active permit from doing this if we choose to go ahead. So, I think it would be an amendment to an active permit.
Okay.
So it's not like you've got to file a new permit
Right.
to do the whole, and I see affirmative head nodding from the town council here, so
Yeah, I think that's probably the procedural mechanism to achieve it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. So Kevin, if you could do that little bit of a homework for us, that would be spectacular.
Okay.
And then we can, then we can talk about it again, vote it up, vote it down, stuff like that.
I have a few thoughts
Mr.
after this, guys.
Go.
Sure. So, I've been giving this a lot of thought after my exhausted ramblings at the last meeting. And the cranberry grower in me, yeah, of course I want to see trucks during peak season. You guys all heard my situation. I can't get sand for my next renovation project. But as I stated last week, I serve on this committee as a citizen of the town first and a cranberry grower second. My kids are riding the school bus to school every day. I understand that public safety becomes a concern as you add more trucks to the street. First of all, the transparency, I think, is foremost. If we were to entertain this, we would have to have absolute transparency for the protection of our citizens, so that this isn't taken advantage of. And then I think it's going to be discretionary of this board to decide what pits lend themselves to being able to handle more trucks. A pit across the street from the elementary school, we're not going to want to add any more trucks to a situation like that.
I would agree.
So I know in today's day we like to have rules, but I really think in this case it needs to remain discretionary with this board, and it needs to be approved up front through the application process. But then also there should be a mechanism for current projects to be able to participate in this program if it is entertained by this board. That's the reality of trying to renovate cranberry bogs right now if you don't have your own sand resource. It's I'll say it again. I'm an employee of the 80 Makepeace Company, and when I call the head of Reed Sand and Gravel, who I really don't associate with at all, he tells me I can get you 4 or 5 truckloads a day. They have everyday customers that they have to serve. All that aggregate is going into the economy in different places, making the world turn. I mean, it's the reality of what aggregate's used for, and they can't stop their daily operation to feed a little 9-acre cranberry grower for a couple days and shut down their operation and starve their customers that are relying on it for all the construction and everything else that's going on in the area. So I think as long as we can use discretion and not be adding trucks to places where it's not responsible to do so, I would absolutely consider a model like this. So
I think that's part of the process, what we're going through here, right? This isn't just a quick slam dunk, right? For any one side or the other. This is a discussion. It's thoughtful, it's meaningful, and things like you're talking about having discretion are absolutely necessary. So, I'll get to you in a minute. Mr. Harrison had some comments first.
This will impact the citizens of Carver greatly during that peak season. And the earth should be going only through Carver growers. So this peak season will impact the residents, and also it will also help the growers. But do we think we should just limit this impact to Carver growth? So if I have bogs in Plimpton or Halifax or wherever, do we want to supply those operations as well, or do we want to limit it to just the places in Carver? Because it does impact just the people from Carver greatly.
Understand.
I was just throwing that out.
Alex, is that something that we could legally do? If we're gonna grant extra loads for agricultural use, can we say where it goes?
That could be constitutionally problematic. But I think if you're tying it to concerned about impacts on Carver, that may be okay, but if you're just prohibiting things going out of town for the sake of wanting to, you know, provide more benefit.
Could you speak up, please? I can't hear.
Your mic.
I think it,
The microphone.
oh, sorry. I think it could be constitutionally problematic to limit where the sand is being trucked to.
Well, we'll probably look, because Ms. Harrison's brought this up, I'd love to have a legal opinion on that.
Sure.
That way there, I think it has real good merit. And I think if we can legally do it, it might be something that we'd want to address. Now, I, for one, have got farms in different towns. I probably would not be happy to hear that. So, doesn't mean we shouldn't be discussing it, though. All right. I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
That's okay, thank you. My name is Catherine Harrelson.
Okay.
I'm with Community Land and Water Coalition, a Plymouth-based nonprofit organization.
Can you speak up? Yeah, actually, you can come up to the mic if you'd like.
Truckload limits are set for public health and safety, including hours of operation.
Correct.
Would you consider getting an outside perspective from the Board of Health or the DPW on this issue before making a final decision?
I love that idea. I think that's absolutely the right thing to do. Thank you so much. So this is why we do these things, right? We have good discussion on them. It's out in the public. Catherine has brought up a very good point. I think that doing these things in a thoughtful manner work. And at the end of the day, it might be that we do nothing with it. Mr. What?
As Mike was addressing that situation, I was thinking, this additional permits above and beyond the 50 should be just agriculture.
Correct. That's correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That would be the only way I would think that everybody on this board would entertain that. We have a set rule. I think we've kind of got an agreement throughout the board that 50 is the number on commercial activity coming out of the agricultural areas. And if we want to increase that, would be my opinion that it would be for the benefit of the cranberry industry. Mike?
Do you think we should cap this? Because if everyone gets their, all their farms reinvigorated, then eventually they won't need it.
Correct.
So maybe we should put a time frame of maybe 2 to 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, that this would be in place. And then if we want to address it again, we can address it at that point.
In my opinion, it should be much shorter than that. I think it should be yearly.
Okay.
I think we should do that yearly. That if we have a if we end up going to a peak season adjustment, if you will, that it's only good for that peak season. We'll see how it goes, see how everything works for the residents, for the street, for the town, for the growers, for the applicant, for everybody involved. And then we can reassess. It might be that there's less loads the next year. It might be that there's more loads the next year.
And there might
And it might be that nothing happens.
That's right, because sand is becoming expensive. And I'm just looking at that little bog we just did, and the biggest expense on the whole thing is the sand.
Yep. Yep.
And, wow.
Yep. All right, I think we've covered this one here pretty handily. We've got some thoughts, we've got some direction going to our professionals for the next discussion we have. I'm sorry,
Can I ask,
what's your name? I'm sorry?
my name is Gail DeTomaso. Can I ask, how do you count the trucks now?
So every truck round trip is counted as one load.
Yeah, but who's counting them? How, what's your evidence for the number of trucks?
The applicant counts them. That is why we have now an agent on board to help us do those very things.
Can I
Of course,
make a suggestion?
you can make any suggestion you'd like.
If I can get a ticket because I'm going too fast on the bridge and they have that camera up there, why can't you guys get something like that in this town? That would, I mean, I'm trying to stay.
That is
neutral
probably,
between warring parties, and I don't understand how you're counting them now.
we have monthly tally sheets. We've gone from quarterly to monthly
But
now.
that's not evidentiary. That's somebody's word.
Absolutely correct.
But
That's not
this,
good enough.
So
My
that,
opinion is not good
and I
enough.
understand where you're coming from, and that is why we've hired an agent to help us with that very scenario. I'm sorry that you don't believe the fact that our agent is going to be that trustworthy.
No.
I do.
I don't understand how he could physically stand there and count them as they.
Sure.
Well, I could do a spot check over the period of time. I'm not gonna be out there every day, and I'm not gonna be at every site. But if I make a schedule of places that I need to be, then I can sit there and count.
So I'm going to stop this right here, and I do thank you for your comments. We are in fact still discussing this. I welcome you to come to the next one, collect some thoughts. I would encourage you to talk to the police about that type of an operation. I'd encourage you maybe to talk to council about filming things, if that's legal for the earth removal committee to do. I don't think it is either, but that's not for me to say. But I appreciate it. We're getting there. I'm gonna tell you, from where this board in this town has been, we are getting there. You're just gonna have to trust the process, and I know it's hard. I remember you in here a few months ago, you said you're new to the town about a year or so ago. So we're getting there. Anybody have any further discussion from the board on this, or do we want to kind of table it till the next meeting when we've had some more information from our professionals?
I think we need more input.
So do I. Okay. Okay, thank you all. The one thing I did not add to the agenda is for the board and for those of you at home and for the audience, we are missing a board member. It is not because he's absent, it is because he has resigned. He is now on Bob Bentley got elected to the Board of Health. Town council's opinion to him and to me was that per the bylaw, you can only serve on one convening authority at a time. He selected the Board of Health. Bob Bentley, for those of you that don't know, owned a water testing company for a good number of years. And that is where his passion still lies. So I think he's going to be a great asset to Kevin at the Board of Health.
Yep.
So with that said, we are looking for another member from the public. Everybody can see what we do. I am looking. We are also going to, because Bob Bentley was the vice chair, well, I'm looking for a new vice, not for tonight. I want those of you, Judy and or Roger, that might say yes to talk about it amongst yourselves and see if that is something that either one of you might take on. I'm not going to pigeonhole anybody to doing anything, but it would be really nice if somebody could step up as the vice chair for the next meeting.
And we'll just put reorganization next meeting.
Yep. So with that, I'd like to adjourn our open session and enter into executive session with a roll call vote pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, 21, subsection A, subsection 3, to discuss litigation with respect to the AD Makepeace, EJ Pontiff, SLT Marib sites, Brian Coppenrath et al. Versus Scott Hanula et al. In the Earth Removal Committee of the Town of Carver, in the Plymouth Superior Court, case number 2483 CV00305, and Nancy Ryan et al. Versus Scott Hanula et al. Earth Removal Committee of the Town of Carver, Plymouth Superior Court, case number 2483 CV00301. The committee will not come back into open session tonight. Can I? It is at 4:54. Can I have a roll call vote?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, just one point of order if I could.
Yes, please. That's why you're here.
I would recommend that you as chair declare that having a conversation in open session would have a detrimental effect on the town's litigating position. Do you so declare?
I do so declare.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Now I would recommend that you entertain a motion to enter executive session for the reasons stated by the chair.
So moved.
So we have Roger that moved it,
Second?
Mike seconded. Roll call vote. Judy, want to start?
Aye.
Scott Hanula, aye.
John Mason, aye.
Roger Shores, aye.
Dick Ward, aye.
Mike Harrison, aye.
Thank you all. Thank you to the audience and to Area 58 and for anybody recording. We will be going into executive session, so I'll ask you all to leave the room. Thank you very much and happy June.